Hey, so now I can choose whatever prompt I'm going to go with. That is going to be what I follow through with. I'm hoping this can be more nonchalant. I'm trying to get better at presenting the video rather than just trying to fake it. Talk is kind of normal would, which is tough with everything going on in the background. But yeah, so now I'm actually going to choose from the prompts. So everyone can see, this will be my fate for the next 24 hours. No matter what it is, how crazy, stupid, because I made some really weird choices. Oh boy. Well, as our first video, this is actually one of the, what I would say is easier. Not really though. I must play all the games in my physical collection that have the letter Z in their name. I know I'm not super great at video editing, especially with editing in videos for games, depending on what the game is. At least have to play one mission or one thing from that game. And they all have to have the letter Z in their name. I'm not going to think of one that is not even any of the current consoles. Well, that's going to be fun, and that'll be for today. Because I've got other stuff in there which is really good and interesting. I can't wait to get to those. Some of them are going to be really hard to throw together in 24 hours. But anyways, that is today's drawing, the first drawing, actually, as well as the first time I think I put my face on camera, which I really hate doing. But I'll get to the rest of making the rest of the video. And, I found all the video games in my collection that have the letter Z in them, at least in the physical collection. So, yeah. Should have figured Legend of Zelda would have been, the biggest one. So, I'm pretty surprised if Spider-Man ends up thorough. Well, I guess I'll get to that. what you ever want to call it. Again, I'm not scripting these. I'm going to say some really stupid stuff. You're going to have to just bear with it. So anyways, I have done things. I have gotten to this point and I've realized I have one more game in my collection I completely forgot about. That starts with the letter, or at least has the letter Z in it. Which, well, most of the games in my collection don't have even the letter Z, so it was a weird challenge that I chose the games with that specific letter. I don't know. Again, completely random. When I made these prompts up, I just kind of went with whatever I felt like at the moment. Surprisingly, I have 2 games in my PlayStation 2 collection. The first game was Thorough, which if you saw, and that one was a blast to the past. Not a great game, but I still really liked playing it. And it was weird getting to show that. I'll talk about this later, but so anyways, the second game from my PlayStation 2 collection, and this is the official last game that I need to play to be able to complete this challenge, is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I was looking through those games, and that was actually, I had Chamber of Secrets in the PlayStation 2, which is an incredibly old game. That was part of my childhood. I remember playing that and watching those movies when they came out. And yeah, I'll get to making this video of this, me playing this game, just so I can add it. And the whole challenge, the whole prompt will be done, and I can add this to the bucket list. But I don't know. I want to share some of my thoughts so far on this before I do this. This will be kind of like the last bit of the video. This is a weird challenge. It's a mix of old and new games that came out from way back when I was a kid and got when I was like 6 or 7. That I just picked up a year ago. Like, most of it was Zelda, which I'm not like a massive fan of anything really, but yeah, I really like those games. Getting to play like a different selection of old and new and the different styles was pretty fun. Like, pretty much I have all the 3DS Legend of Zelda games, 2 of which are the N64 remakes. And I don't know, it's just fun. It's just kind of see that progression and the different styles and how different each game really feels. I really wanted to talk about The Legend of Zelda and some of my other concepts and other stuff that I want to do on this channel. But yeah, it's interesting to have back-to-back playthroughs, and part of what kind of inspired this challenge, one of the things that I didn't really expect I'd be doing, but now that I have, it's similar to something else. When Halo Infinite came out, and I bought that game, I played through all the other Halo games I have, which is every game except Halo 2 and the Oddst, and the Halo Wars, but I don't count those as part of the main series. But I played through everything else, from Halo 1, 3, 4, 5, and then eventually Halo Infinite. I played a mission from each, and just seeing how the games chronologically build up. No, I didn't do Zelda, but it's just an interesting perspective on games, and I think if you have a series, like a trilogy or something, spanning all this time, you have a trilogy or some kind of game series that spans a long length of time, or different consoles, it's interesting to play through that. I might do that on my own. Maybe that's an idea for this channel. But to explore all the different Zelda games, because I play all of them. I love the whole series. And I love retro games, even going back to the NES. I never grew up with anything before the PS2, technically the PS1, but I still really love the NES and the SNES are really, even today, they still kind of hold up with their games. Some don't, but it's interesting to kind of play that history. I'm not going to go too much into that, but yeah, that was pretty fun. It's like, you go through Ocarina of Time, and then Majora's Mask, and then Skyward Sword, and then Breath of the Wild, even though Skyward Sword technically, that came out before Breath of the Wild, but it only came out on Switch recently, and I never played it before this challenge. So it was really interesting getting that game, because that game was very different. I didn't expect it to be that different. I guess fun fact out of the whole thing, my favorite of the games that I did play, which is every physical Legend of Zelda game that I currently own, I literally played for this challenge. So,
I'm not gonna go through it, but I think my favorite out of all of them is Link's Awakening. I just like the classic games. I love the retro style of sort of top down with the classic music. I'm not gonna add anything on that, but yeah, it's not my favorite. When I played that, that one's always fun. I still have yet to finish it. Yeah, it's my favorite. Zorgons was a really weird game. I want to really talk about that because it wasn't that great. It's an old movie tie-in game from the PS2 era, back in like 2007, 6. Zorgons came out a long time ago. I remember the movie's great. The video game, not so much. The controls are janky. It's not good. All the characters kind of have the same layout, so there really isn't a point in changing characters. As you see, there you have like the 3 different characters, the 2 kids, and then the robot. The robot's the best, because when that level came out, that was so fun. It honestly was more fun by the end of it, because in a way I was kind of getting back when I was like 7 years old, 6 years old, and I went to a Blockbuster to get that movie, and eventually get the game. Yes, I'm like Gen Z, I think, and I know what a Blockbuster is. I was in one. I still have vivid memories of Blockbuster. All the people out there who's like, oh, you don't know what a Blockbuster is, oh, you don't know what a floppy disk is. I know what those are. I'm only like 2 decades old. And yes, I know what those are. My little sister, when she was in 2007, remembers what a Blockbuster is. She was born in 2007. That's when they started disappearing, but she went when she was like 3. I definitely know what a Blockbuster is. I remember vividly going in there, renting movies, getting like the snacks they had up at the front. And there's nothing that's really done that kind of same thing, like a video rental place. There really hasn't been one of those. So it's kind of weird to remember that. Most of my PS2 games are from Blockbuster that we ended up keeping over the rental period, ended up paying for. But that was the place to get video games at the time for me. It was the place to get movies and stuff and going in and seeing all the films. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I remember Zorgons, is very heavily with a lot of the old 2000s stuff, which I really do miss. But yeah, and this too, actually, I haven't gotten to playing this. I have played this one before and actually owned it on PC. But I would rather play the PS2 version, because actually there's some save data on there. It's just another Harry Potter game. If you've never played those, they're kind of cool. You get to have moments of, like, there's levels, progression system, whatever. You get spells and you go around and you fight monsters. The cool part about these games, especially the Chamber of Secrets in this one, is you get like a free roam between levels of Hogwarts Castle. And it's so cool because in the movies you get to see it for very briefly, but in the games you can actually get to fly around and go wherever you want on there. And people bring up like Ocarina of Time and all the, what's another game with an open world? I don't know. When people bring up like old open world games where they went around and explored for secrets, went to different parts of the map that they weren't supposed to, or there wasn't stuff to do. For me, that was, well, not this game specifically. This game, I could never get past like the first couple of parts of it. Eventually, I really put some effort into it and figured out how to play through it. But Chamber of Secrets was my jam. And I remember that. Everything people say about, like, Ocarina of Time, like Hyrule Field, and all the exploration of that, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for PS2 was that for me. I'll slow down and I'll actually show you guys some of the exploration parts. But it's really fun because you get, like, this massive free roam until you're, like, ready to move on. And it's so cool because you can just go around the castle and the lake. And Chamber of Secrets isn't really good. It's really chunky graphics and blocky. It's dated. This game was a bit better. I don't want to have the rose-tinted glasses effect, because I tried doing that. I'm like, oh yeah, of course this game is great. It looks amazing. With PS2, it's on composite video cables. Doesn't look good. But it's still fun to play for these. Honestly, I'm glad I kept a lot of my PS2 stuff, because growing up, I've just always wanted to go back to that. Even though the experiences have been not 100% of what I always thought they would be going back, it's still great to kind of just go through these old games. I have actually tracked down a lot of the games that I've never kept. Maybe I'll make a video on that. Don't want to keep this up for too long, but yeah, these are just my thoughts on the challenge, or video, whatever. I don't want to really consider this a challenge. It is, it's just a bunch of stuff that I'm doing. But I really wanted to add an element of when I'm talking over this, and explaining what I think about these games, and kind of going back to some of them, or games that I haven't touched in years. Although one I never even talked about, an Amazing Spider-Man, which I own twice. I own one for the Xbox. I'm going to level with you, I have another version of the game for DS that I haven't played. Maybe I should. But since it's technically the same game, technically it's not the same game at all, but it's the same name. And trust me, that version there isn't as much to do for as much time. I probably could finish the game in the amount of time that I spent playing all the other games. It's not that long. I got it at the time because all I had was a DS. I bought the other version, the Xbox version, the one that someone played. I got that long after. Weird game. Because I remember when the new Spider-Man on PS4 was coming out, and everyone was talking about, oh, it's going to be the best, and have the best gameplay and all that. My first opinion, because it was the only other real Spider-Man game with an open world that I played before that. I haven't played the PS2 games originally. I have played other Spider-Man games, but they're not open world. They're all pretty linear. I have Spider-Man on PS1, Edge of Time on Wii, which my Wii does not work. I cannot play those games. But I've played Spider-Man games before. Nothing open world. So it was the first real one that I had before going into the PS4 game. And so when the PS4 game came out, I noticed how similar they were. Swinging works the same way, combat's fairly similar, there's upgrade systems on the map, and the open world works very similarly. So the PS4 game never impressed me with its movement stuff. It polished a lot of those things, was like, oh, okay, this is like Amazing Spider-Man. Going back to it, the game is far less polished than I remember. It is really, it's dated, it's old, it is not aged well. I love the costume, and one of the reasons I got it was because of the story, and I still stand by the story on that game as being fairly decent. I like their choice of villain. For me, with superhero movies, just to make it really quick, the villain is everything for me. If you have a weak villain in your superhero film, I don't really care. So I haven't watched, like, Eternals. I don't care for some of the other Marvel, and even DC, some stuff with that. The villain is everything. The villain is the one character that pushes the hero. It's the thing that changes in each movie. It is the conflict. Without going too far into that. So I really like this game for its villain and for the things, the way it did things. It's truly an interesting viewpoint on a Spider-Man game. And I'm kind of glad with the future games they've tried to distance themselves. Even the movies, it's not canon, which sucks because I think it's actually really decent. It's definitely better than the second Spider-Man game that they made based on that movie series, and PS4 game is the best overall. I think that and the PS1 game, which I will always go back to. Maybe I should show that game at some point. I'm getting ahead of myself already. 15 minutes. Yeah, we've gone on quite a while. Maybe I'll intersperse this into the actual videos. So yeah, I'll make sure I get to playing some of this. You guys will get to see this game, the last game, and I can finally end this video. And that'll be the first real video of the bucket list. So I can wait till tomorrow, and I get to do the second thing, which who knows what that's gonna be. Thanks for sticking around. Whatever happens, I don't know if this is ever going to be successful. Yeah. Thanks for sticking around, watching us. Hopefully it's been entertaining. you know, if you really liked, no, the one thing I have to talk about, I kind of want to do Zathura, more stuff on Zathura, because that was a really interesting game. Maybe I'll go back in another video, another series, some other project of mine. Maybe I'll talk about my PlayStation 2 games, show you some of the stuff from them. Because I think there's some really interesting things, like who else on the internet is going to bring up the PS2 Zathura game from 2006? I might be like 2007 or 8. It has to be 2006. That is an old movie. But hey, you know, if you enjoyed it, you want to see more of that, I'd love to hear more about that. But anyways, you know, hopefully this has entertained you. Hopefully this has done something. If it's not, I have no idea. I haven't counted how many prompts there are. I'll probably count them based on the videos. But hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around and giving us a chance. So anyways, see you in the next one.